Hi, welcome to Tinfoil Handkerchief Alignment, and today we're going to talk about the third eye chakra, the sixth chakra in our energetic bodies. The third eye is also sometimes referred to as the brow chakra, as it's located in the middle of the brow. It's representative of our intuition, inner vision, imagination, and wisdom. Now, that can sound pretty vague, but there are multiple aspects within that, which includes perception, dreams, mental clarity, self-awareness, and introspection. Your third eye essentially helps you navigate your subconscious. The color associated with the third eye chakra is indigo, and I actually think it's pretty cool because it's a mix of blue and violet purple, which are the colors of the throat and crown chakras, of which the third eye is situated between. So it's like the connection between our expression and our consciousness, acting as a bridge between the physical and spiritual worlds. I think of the third eye chakra as the filter for the crown chakra, which is our cosmic consciousness and how we connect to the universe or become enlightened. How our third eyes are attuned determines the type of connection to that consciousness, which is why I believe it's important to work on the lower chakras and become positively attuned towards light energy before opening up your higher chakras. In color therapy, indigo is thought to help balance the nervous system, with the blue helping to promote calm and stillness, which helps reduce agitation. It's just an overall calming kind of color, while the purple helps with intuition, creativity, and universal truth. Light is the element associated with the third eye, but is also a component of ether. It often represents the positive aspects or yang energy within self. Yang energy is the actual light portion of the symbol of balance it represents. However, the way I interpret light as it pertains to the third eye can either be light or dark, dark being the yin energy. So when you open your third eye, the type of light you access is dependent on how you're attuned. The higher chakras are more about spiritual connection. The lower chakras are more earth-based, and it establishes a level of grounding to the physical world when those are balanced out. Because it's important to balance the earthly aspects within self and kind of ground yourself to the earth before trying to balance the spiritual aspects. And to be clear, that's not in terms of religion. It's in terms of spiritual connection to higher consciousness or the universe. Think of it as the universe and the energy around you, what's external to yourself. When I say the lower chakras are more earth-based, it's because they're more connected to material and physical desires. If the lower chakras are more unbalanced, dysfunctional, or more negatively attuned, before trying to positively attune the higher chakras, it will actually cause more challenges and imbalances within self. Which is more because all of the unhealed, negatively attuned aspects within self would become more amplified. I often talk about how healing aspects within self fixes holes within self, and opening your third eye without fixing those holes first can actually make them bigger. It's because you can become more susceptible to negative perceptions of yourself, which can cause further imbalance and blockages within other chakras and disrupt your internal energetic flow or cause more dysfunction, which can lead to both mental health issues and make you much more at risk to experience spiritual attacks or attachments, the effects of which will feel more intense. The more unhealed spaces within self, the more of a negatively attuned energetic baseline you have to start. Opening your third eye is essentially thinning the veil between the physical and the metaphysical. If you're more attuned to the light, it will attract more light on the metaphysical level and helps maintain a higher, healthier energetic baseline. So then the lower or negative vibrations don't have the same reach and they don't have as much to stick to you. Because if you're more attuned to the dark, it will attract more lower vibrational energy and will continue to decrease your vibration and cause those holes within self to become bigger. The lower your vibration, the easier it is for lower level energetic attachments to attach to you, siphon from, and drain your energy. And mostly just make you feel like really bad about yourself. On the other side of the veil, there are both light and dark energies and entities. The light heals and protects, where the dark are more harmful or destructive. Again, whatever vibrational level you're more attuned to, the more of that you'll attract. If you're more negatively attuned, you can still work to attune yourself to the light. It just takes a little bit more effort and maintenance on your part. It's basically the same as the concept of hurt people, but healed people can healed people. And if you're more attuned to the light, it encourages you to continue to do better. Whereas if you're more attuned to the dark, it's easy to kind of fall back into despair. Essentially, you attract to the vibration that you're at. With that said, there's also truth to the concepts of your light irritates their demons and new levels, new devils. I've talked a little about this in other episodes, but not in those specific terms. Even as you heal and attune to the light, there are going to be others at a lower vibration that will try to lower your vibration. I believe I talked about that a little bit in the Gemini episode, so if you haven't watched that one, go check it out. I've found that when other people are trying to lower your vibration, that it's almost always because they're not ready to, or in some cases not willing to, raise their vibration. I also often say that just because you have traits that are more negatively attuned doesn't mean they always have to stay that way. But those are aspects that you would need to choose to heal within self before they can be positively attuned, which results in your overall vibration and internal energetic flow improving. And you can't force others to positively attune their own negative aspects if they don't want to or aren't ready to do so. Keeping your vibration high and your karma as clear as you can also means you can't try to force others into healing. You can encourage it and try to show by example the benefits of doing so. I believe that building a healthy relationship with God and the light aspects means respecting the free will of others, even if they want to be more negatively attuned or unhealed within themselves. And whether or not you're religious or even believe in God, there is a universal spiritual law that maintains balance. Even if you want to help someone, you can't help those who don't want to help themselves. Even if you think you know better, you can't make those decisions for them, or it will upset that karmic balance, which in turn can accumulate karmic debt for you. Side note about karmic debt: love, authenticity, empathy, compassion, and forgiveness carry high vibrations. The more of these you're able to incorporate into your life will increase both your internal and external vibration and will help you clear out karmic debt that you have. But that only works if it's not performative, and it won't be unless you balance these and their underlying aspects within self and your own chakras. When you learn to love yourself, find your confidence and authenticity, that emanates outward, as does forgiving and not focusing on the past, which also includes showing yourself compassion and empathy for the things that you didn't know or can't change. Further to that, accountability is also a high vibrational way to positively attune your energy overall, not just within the third eye, and it also helps with clearing out some of your karmic debt. And shifting blame is actually an indicator of a dysfunction within the third eye chakra. Forgiveness and acknowledgement starts from within ourselves and allows the opportunity to incorporate positively changed behavior. Sometimes it's better to make those changes within self first because it's a more authentic form of accountability and apology if you do choose to acknowledge it outwardly. Sometimes the best apology truly is changed behavior. It's more authentic and long-term. It helps improve your internal vibration and will help improve your external relationships, and again, relationships of any kind. With all that said, you're better able to be non-performative in your external interactions by making internal adjustments and introspecting to help you gain more self-awareness. Self-awareness and introspection or self-reflection are indicators of a balanced third eye chakra. It's just the ability to take an honest internal look at how you feel and why, about how you're feeling, things that happened or are happening, and getting to the root of the causes of why you feel that way, rather than just repressing those feelings. That's why I say it's important to balance the lower chakras first. At each level within the energetic body, there's something to introspect on and process within self, and multiple aspects within each energetic center. Your awareness of self gets better as you work through aspects within each chakra and learn how to balance them. And as you go, you gain confidence and understanding, which allows you to be a more authentic version of yourself. And it helps calm restless internal energy as you release your emotional baggage in a healthy, positive way. The more attuned you become to yourself, the more aware you become about your feelings as they arise, and learn how to better manage them in a healthy, positive way when they do. Which also goes back to the repairing holes within within self. As you do that, even slowly, you gain a better understanding of yourself, which in turn helps recalibrate your internal energy and restore a healthy flow between all of your chakras. Through this process, you gain self-awareness, which helps you discern how you feel and how you view yourself, and determine what's being projected onto you from others. Because people project based on the holes within themselves. So as your discernment and self-awareness increases, you also gain a better understanding of others. In turn, that also allows you to show more understanding, empathy, compassion, and love to them. In turn, that helps them start healing aspects within self, or at least provides some encouragement that they can, and in a way that doesn't upset the karmic balance or accumulate karmic debt for you. It actually helps you work off some of yours as long as you maintain a healthy boundary and are doing it authentically to help someone else, without expectation of getting anything in return. I say that because I believe there are a lot of people who truly believe they're broken beyond repair. I've said that before, and I'll reiterate that I don't believe that to be true. However, it's a choice that everyone has to make for themselves, and not everyone is ready in the moment. Doesn't mean they won't ever be ready, but sometimes they're just not ready right then. Think of it as giving people a glimmer of hope or insight into the best version of themselves that you think they can be, without projecting onto them what you want them to be. It helps someone more negatively attuned to find a little bit of light within the darkness if they feel like that's where they're stuck. Sometimes all it takes is knowing that someone sees that there is still light in them when they feel like they're being overcome by the darkness. Usually when someone gets to that point of negative attunement, they often don't think that they can get back to the light or don't even know where to start. Sometimes someone else seeing a glimmer in them helps them want to take the steps towards healing without being forced or coerced into doing so, because especially when you're more negatively attuned, sometimes that additional pressure of trying to keep up to the expectations someone else has from you can be more detrimental. So it's allowing them the opportunity and space to grow within themselves without forcing them or adding more pressure to them. Being overly judgmental of others is an indicator of an imbalance within the third eye as well. I would say that if you find yourself doing that, it would be more reflective of an aspect, insecurity, or hole within self that you're projecting onto others. Now, there can be some nuance within that. Some things can just be a personal opinion, and everyone can have their own opinion. It's a matter of not being so concerned about what other people think of you. Balance within self means feeling more confident in your opinion of yourself than the opinions of others about you. However, if that's negatively attuned or there are dysfunctions in the lower 5 chakras, that can look more like being egocentric or authoritarian, which authoritarian can also mean kind of bossy. It shouldn't be about making yourself feel or look better than others. It should be about seeing everyone as an equal, even if not viewed as such in material aspects, emotional healing, or spiritual levels. That also includes when you heal within self. Just because you've healed certain aspects within yourself doesn't mean you're better than someone else who hasn't. Everyone's journeys, physical, emotional, and spiritual, are different. But it shouldn't come to a point where you're looking down on others, even if they don't want to heal, as that would be more of an indicator of an imbalance within self. However, that also doesn't mean you have to stay around unhealthy connections. Once you raise your internal vibration, you likely won't want to. But you can also disconnect with love and respect for their unwillingness to heal, if that makes sense. Allowing them the space to grow on their own while allowing yourself to have boundaries with your own healing. It doesn't have to be a fight. It can be an acknowledgement that you're no longer on the same wavelength. Wish them love, light, and healing, and hopefully one day you can connect again on a more vibrationally equal level. It's not that you don't care about them or wish them well. You can still want good things for others, but don't necessarily want them to continue to be as big of a part of your life or around as often as they once were. It's just that you're no longer the version of you that matched their energy. An understanding that there is a mismatch, and within the connection, you may be at an impasse on how to return to a more comparable vibrational level. Not that it can't ever happen, but just not at that time. I personally think that's the healthiest way to disconnect from relationships. Again, relationships of any kind. However, I feel like it's difficult for a lot of people to do that in a healthy, positive way. The one with the lower vibration, if it's an unhealed aspect within self, often feels rejected. Except it's not actually a rejection, it's more of an understanding and a respect by the one in the higher vibration that the other just isn't ready, which the one on the lower vibration may see the other as looking down on them. Again, that would be more of an indicator of an unhealed aspect within self. The one on the higher vibration often won't see it as the other is below them, though. At least they shouldn't if they're positively attuned and if that aspect is authentically healed within self. It's more of an acknowledgement and display of respect for where the other's at in their healing journey without trying to force them into healing aspects they aren't ready to. Healing aspects within self is hard work and takes a lot of effort and self-discipline. That can be hard to maintain in connections that feel energetically depleting, which is what happens in relationships and situations that feel like an energetic mismatch. At least when you're looking at it in terms from high to low, because if you think about it in terms of the lower vibrational energy, they actually benefit from being around the higher vibrational energy because it helps bring them up a bit. However, if they don't heal those aspects within self, when they're not around each other, that level drops back down to their energetic baseline, if that makes sense. Also, lack of self-discipline is actually an indicator of imbalance within the third eye as well. That can look like a lot of things, but I interpret it to predominantly mean in regards to spiritual hygiene and less about actual routine. Though that's not to say it doesn't extend to that as well, just that that can actually look different for a lot of people and doesn't necessarily or always pertain to how much you do in a day, how often you do it, or how organized you are. I would say I interpret self-discipline to be more about consistency, but that also doesn't mean doing the same thing every day. I would say it's more about maintaining balance within self and energetic aspects. Just because you heal certain aspects doesn't mean they can't ever get dysfunctional or become imbalanced again after you have healed them, because sometimes things just happen that can still lower your vibration. But the more you heal, the less your vibration gets brought down when something does occur. It's more about being able to recognize, rebalance, and recalibrate when you do feel like there's an imbalance. The higher you can keep your energetic baseline, the easier it is to stay positively attuned and heal more aspects within self while maintaining balance within all of your chakras. There can be regressions that can be more negatively attuned because sometimes stuff just happens and sometimes it hurts. So it requires work to positively recalibrate that. The better your self-awareness, the quicker you're able to recognize when there is some sort of imbalance, blockage, or overactivity that would be more negatively attuned or is becoming so. It gives you an earlier opportunity to recalibrate more positively to keep your energetic baseline high. Finding your own self-awareness and confidence in your authentic self, taking the time to introspect and process your own emotions, developing discernment, and restoring balance within your own chakras all help improve your own intuition. Intuition helps act as a detector for shifts in both internal and external energy. The more developed this becomes, the earlier and more accurate energetic indicators you receive when it comes to sensing shifts in energy, your own personal needs, and those of others. If your intuition is more negatively attuned, it still detects shifts in energy, but can be harder to discern, as it would be more from a lens of an unhealed space or aspect within self and can be skewed by the projections of others. Other indicators of imbalance within the third eye chakra include creative blocks or struggling to sort through your own thoughts, maybe being a little scattered or unfocused. Fear of success is also an indicator of imbalance, which I would also interpret to be or include self-sabotage, which I actually think is based in fear, lack of self-confidence, and low self-worth. Since those are more aspects from the lower chakras, I would also interpret the fear of success as the reluctance to heal some of the deeper, unhealed holes within self, or believing that you can't. They usually come closer to the surface as you work up through your energetic body through the lower chakras. They can be some of the most difficult to overcome, which is another reason why it's important to energetically rebalance in layers, starting with the lower chakras. Saturn, Jupiter, the Moon, and Neptune are the planetary bodies associated with the third eye chakra and represents various aspects within it. Saturn is more about the connection within structure, which can include on the spiritual level. Because it's also one of the principal planetary bodies that is associated with higher spiritual knowledge and the responsibilities within that. Jupiter, as it pertains to the third eye, is more about expansion of thought, curiosity, and wisdom. That can be in general, but also as it pertains to higher spiritual knowledge or insight. It encourages taking an optimistic approach to diversifying perspectives. It's also representative of fairness and generosity, the planetary embodiment of what you put into the world you will get back, which, to be clear, can be positive or negative depending on how you attune. But essentially, it's the planetary embodiment of karma. The moon represents the subconscious, our perception of the world and ourselves, as well as intuition. The moon goes through many phases regularly, so it also symbolizes transformation and cycles, which I would interpret as karmic cycles and different phases of life as they pertain to the third eye. The moon is also about our emotions in both how we feel and express them, but also how we nurture ourselves and others emotionally. That also includes motivation, what inspires us, and flowing with the fluidity of life. The intuitive component encourages us to listen to our bodies or through our other senses. Neptune is the more psychic of the planetary bodies associated with the third eye. I also interpret it to be more spiritually based in comparison to Saturn, where there is a spiritual component, but it's more rooted in the physical. Whereas Neptune is more of a bridge to higher consciousness, the veil, and the dream state. Balanced aspects within self that correspond to Neptune help with confidence and self-awareness to help prevent others from preying on our hopes and fears, which is like preventing spiritual attack. Aquarius, along with Cancer and Pisces, are the astrological signs associated with the third eye. Aquarius are known to be the visionaries and humanitarians of the zodiac. They're forward thinkers who can be deeply introspective and intuitive. They're also great collaborators and really good when it comes to integrating thoughts and actions, which are all aspects that correlate to the third eye in various ways. The humanitarian and collaboration aspects may not be overtly obvious as pertaining to the third eye, but I would say it does in the sense that the more balanced within self you are, the more you're able to give or help others on an emotional level. Aquarius are also known to embrace things that are unique and eccentric and can be some of the most confident and authentic of the zodiac, though they can be predisposed to being aloof if that aspect is more negatively attuned. But if balanced, they can also be incredibly empathetic. All of these aspects attuned to the positive can help contribute to healthy flow within the third eye. Another thing I find really interesting is that it's represented by the water bearer. I'm an Aquarius, and growing up, I always was kind of confused as to what the significance of that was, because I'm like, what even is this, right? However, the water bearer does make sense in the context of being associated with the third eye and the moon, as the moon is connected to the astrological water signs of Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces, as well as the third eye. It may come as a surprise that Aquarius, being the water bearer, isn't an actual water sign. It's an air sign, which, as it pertains to the third eye, does make sense, as air isn't as physical or earth-based as the other elements. So with all of that said, the moon and Aquarius, as they pertain to the third eye, is like bringing the non-tangible into tangibility. As mentioned, Cancer and Pisces also correspond to the third eye. Both are intuitive signs representative of how we connect to our emotions. Aspects of Cancer are more about emotional awareness and how we find spiritual balance. Like the moon, it's representative of how we nurture both our spirit and our physical bodies. Because Cancer is an emotional sign, it can also be more sensitive. Unbalanced, I would probably say more specifically as a blockage, that would look more like being aloof, which can prevent genuine connections if more negatively attuned, which can also be a common predisposition found in Aquarius. This isn't just specific to these signs, it's more about aspects within self. I'm just using certain aspects more commonly commonly associated with these astrological signs as an example. Pisces is more about the subconscious, perception, and dreams, which are not only aspects of the third eye, but also of Pisces' ruling planet, which is Neptune, also one of the planetary bodies associated with the third eye. I love how it all connects, which is even cooler considering Neptune is also representative of interconnectedness. Connects on connects on connects. And I never knew this, but apparently older versions of astrology considered Jupiter to be the ruling planet of Pisces, which is one of the other planetary bodies associated with the third eye. Pisces is also representative of looking beyond what's in the physical and how subconscious thoughts can be brought into tangibility. Like I was saying with the Aquarius moon connection, since Pisces is a water sign, that's like the water Aquarius is bearing. An important Pisces aspect to learn and balance is discernment, as they can be more inclined or predisposed to absorbing projections from others, which can throw off their own intuition and cause struggles with sorting through their own thoughts and feelings. Like I was saying before, developing discernment is one of the most important things when it comes to recalibrating your internal energy. But I would say it becomes more refined as the third eye becomes unblocked, balanced, and more positively attuned. However, it contributes to restoring and maintaining healthy flow within all chakras. Better discernment develops the more aspects within self are healed, the more self-awareness you have, and the more honest and fair internal introspection you have when it comes to working through those aspects. If you're more negatively attuned, it's easier to be overly critical of yourself. When you're more positively attuned in this aspect, you're able to show yourself a little more compassion, which would be more representative of giving yourself honest feedback or constructive criticism. Though mostly known to be associated with our pineal and pituitary glands, parts of the physical body that correspond with the third eye chakra also include our brains, eyes, ears, and nose. So symptoms of energetic imbalance can present themselves physically as things like sinus problems or nosebleeds, or eye issues such as nearsightedness or conjunctivitis. I would also interpret that nearsightedness can also mean on a less physical level as well, such as only looking at a situation from a narrow perspective rather than the bigger picture of it. A side effect of some eye problems that could also be interpreted as something tangibly physical and mental or emotional is lack of focus, which can also be a side effect of headaches and migraines or memory and sleep issues such as insomnia or nightmares, all of which can be representations of dysfunction or imbalances as a result of being negatively attuned within the third eye. Tools to help recalibrate imbalanced third eye chakra aspects internally, you can use the mantra of Om, as well as a high A note. For scents in the form of oils or incense, you can use cedarwood, basil, or clary sage. As I've previously mentioned, with color, sound, crystals, and scents, strength and vibrancy can influence impact. Attuning to yourself will allow you to be able to better determine how much or how little of each tool you need to rebalance within. For crystals, I primarily use amethyst, but I use amethyst for everything. This is also amethyst. I'm a February Aquarius, so it's my birthstone, but it's also my favorite color. I also incorporate lapis lazuli or sodalite, though I often use those more for the throat chakra. With that said, they're great to use if you're trying to restore or increase energetic flow between the throat and the third eye chakra. Amethyst is known to be a spiritual healing stone, which helps raise the overall vibration and